I'm Anna and this is Awkwardly Yours, and today I am going to make vegetable slash beef broth. Let's get into it. So most of this recipe today I'm kind of making up as I go. I've made broth and stock and things like that before, not necessarily with these ingredients, but I know how to, boil stuff down and things like that. So today for the broth, I'm going to be using scraps from vegetables that I've been collecting for the past few months, like 2 months. I have a bunch of carrots, onions, garlic, some celery. A lot of the times that I've been collecting these, I just use, if there's vegetables that are in the fridge that might be going bad, I'll just stick them in the freezer and then use those for stock. I had some prosciutto that was gonna go bad that I wasn't gonna eat, so I'm pretty sure I may possibly could do something with that. I also have beef or steak bones and some steak trimmings and like fat. So I read online that you can also put that into stock. Now, it's not stock, like I just said, it's broth. The difference between stock and broth is stock has bones. And while yes, I am using steak bones, I'm using more vegetables, and that's broth, whereas stock uses bones. So this is the prosciutto that I'm going to be using. There's quite a bit of fat, which is good, but basically I'm going to just crisp it up, I think, and help it release its fat, and then I'm going to add in these vegetables. So I have some sweet potato, or maybe it's yam, celery, and some carrots. I had to cut these up frozen, which in hindsight was a lot of work. So I think one tip is when you make broth or stock, if you have vegetables that are going bad, that are whole, cut them up first before you freeze them, because it makes this process a lot easier as opposed to having to like cut frozen vegetables. Now, as you can probably still hear, the prosciutto is sizzling. I turned the heat off because it was starting to smoke. So I kind of underestimated or overestimated how much fat there was compared to the actual prosciutto. So I am going to add in some oils mixed with herbs that I froze earlier. Now this is olive oil with rosemary in it that I froze earlier in an ice cube tray. So I'm going to use it so that the prosciutto doesn't burn. Right now I have turned up the flame pretty high, and I'm stirring constantly to make sure that the prosciutto does not burn, and to try and release some moisture. The rest of the stuff I added was onion peels. I have some Parmesan rinds, some potato peels, some sort of herb, probably parsley stems, some pieces of garlic, and some pieces of ginger as well. And I can't forget my steak bits and bones. Now, I didn't really measure this, but I used 2 pitcher-sized pitchers of water just to cover it, basically. Now I'm going to leave it over low heat with the lid partially off, and I will be back in about 30 minutes to check it. So the water level got a little bit lower than I'd like for only being cooked for 30 minutes, so I'm gonna add more water. Towards the end, I'm also gonna add maybe 1 or 2 basil leaves. I've had this basil plant growing for 2 months now, and I don't want to use too much of it for the stock because I'd like to use it fresh for pizzas and things like that, or pesto, but I'm gonna add a little bit. I also have 2 different types of lettuce growing, and some parsley as well. Very small, but it'll get there eventually. Something you'll hear me say a lot on this channel probably when I'm cooking or baking, especially when I'm cooking, is I do a lot of things by eye, as in just by looking at it, I'll kind of see if it's what I want, whatever it is to look like. So with this broth, I don't really time it. I kind of just check it every 30 minutes and make sure that it looks reduced to where I want it to. It doesn't thicken. It's not like a soup. It just kind of, the water kind of evaporates so that it concentrates the flavor. And I just taste it every time until it's like a flavor that I like. And then sometimes I'll add spices or herbs. I was going to add basil, but I don't think I will because I don't want to waste it. And also the soup has a lot of flavor on its own. Now I'm going to drain it and then put it back on the stove and reduce it some more. Not as long as 30 minutes, but a few more minutes. The thing I will be filming on this channel is mistakes, of which I make several usually every time I cook, because I'm learning and I'm not perfect. Here's one mistake I just made. So concentrated on straining that I forgot to put something underneath the strainer, so a bunch of my broth kind of just went down the drain, so that sucks. So now I've decided I like the color as it is, so I'm not going to keep reducing it. I'm just going to cover it and use it for dinner later. This is my broth, this is Anna, and I'm awkwardly yours.